we go. Oh, that made it worse. So I need to go over here. There we go. All right, that'll make it better. All right, so I'm going to put Insta right here. I'm going to put YouTube, Facebook right here. What's going on, everyone? I thought today was Tuesday till about 4 o'clock. Then I realized it was Wednesday. It's been one of those weeks. A lot going on. How's everybody's week going, though? Halfway point. Everybody doing well? Any big news? Anything to celebrate? Is there anything that happened today that's a huge win that you want me to highlight? If we've got anything going on, any wins, let me know. We'll highlight them real quick. Bald in My World, what's up? How's it going? Was a huge fan of you as a skateboarder. Recently found your IG. Proud of you, man. Mozzarella Steve, I appreciate you. That's like the best one. People who like haven't seen me in years, and then they kind of re-find me and go, wait, what? What are you doing? It's just crazy how fast time goes. Like, yeah, I trip on this all the time. I haven't been a pro skateboarder for almost it's almost 8 years, 7 years. Isn't that crazy? Part of it, I mean, I think it's like having kids. Like, part of it feels like it was just yesterday, or there's a part of it that feels like it was just yesterday. And then there's another part that it feels like so long ago. Yeah, it's crazy. Sam, what's going on? All right, let's see if we got any wins. Folding chair W, okay. Killed the sales game today. Jay Preston, great work. My man, that's a cool thing about sales. When you do well with sales, you make money. Like the ceiling is high. It really is. What's the hardest trick you think you can still land? Dang, that's a good question. The hardest trick I think I can still land? Well, let me ask you this. Like, I step on a skateboard today. What's the hardest trick I can land today? Flip tricks? I don't know. Maybe a hard flip or nollie half cab flip, something like that. Ledge game? I'm not sure I could kickflip into a ledge right now. That's going to probably take some time skating on a board. I don't know, switchback tail I could probably do today. If I had some time, I'd be able to do a lot of the tricks I used to be able to do. I don't think it'd take that long. I don't know if I could jump down the rails that quick. That might take time, but like all the normal stuff, I think I can get back. Back to teach because I didn't sell houses. Carolina, you're selling, or you're a teacher and then you also sell homes on the side. Yeah, sales, real estate, it's hard right now. There's just not a lot of product. What are you seeing? Is there just not enough to sell? Are you in a market where that's the case? Dang, that's crazy. I still look at you as a pro skater. Like, in my eyes, you're still a pro skater. Isn't that nuts? I know. The crazy part is my audience is like split now. I have so many people that like never even knew I was a skater. I have, people who have followed me through this journey, and then, yeah, it's interesting. It's crazy. I mean, a lot of the people that I work with, like, they don't know me as a skater, which is interesting. It's weird. Nick Tucker, what's going on, legend? How are you? My laptop fried in the middle of editing a project for a big client, so I need a beer. Got any laptops for sale? Tim, I don't have a laptop for sale. I just got a new one, actually. Go drink a beer. Take a step back and then jump back in the game. That's a bummer. What do you think about buying condos in San Diego right now? Okay, I get asked this question probably more than anything is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to buy a house? Is it a good time to buy a condo? My view on buying real estate that you're going to live in, as long as you are okay living there for the next 10 years, I don't think when you buy matters. I think you could buy any time. If you're not going to live there for 10 years, that's a harder one to answer because, if you're hoping that you can buy it in 3 years, it's going to appreciate, you're going to make all this money, you're going to sell it, you're going to move into a bigger home. That's where it gets a little harder to anticipate that. So if you're okay staying in there for a decade, yeah, I think it's fine to buy, as long as you can, considering you can afford it. If you're hungry for a bite, come to Thousand Oaks Fat Burger. Heck yeah. I actually haven't been to the Thousand Oaks Fat Burger yet. My kids are at the beach today. My wife just went up there to meet them. My grandparents are camping. My in-laws are camping. And it's just me tonight. So I'm going to do a live for probably another hour. Maybe I'll stop by Fat Burger on the way home. Ex-skater dad life, I feel it. DVS days. I actually saw Tim Gavin last week. Did an interview with him and his new business partner. Tim sells real estate. Are you seeing a squeeze on VC money? I see VCs not throwing coin around as much these days. Yeah, there's definitely a slowdown in the venture market. Slowdown in the tech market. Capital just pulled back. Definitely seeing that. Even on it's interesting, on the real estate side, there's people that are pulled back and then there's people that are deploying crazy capital. I would say probably the retail investor or the investor who is like us, like we'd be considered like normal investors. A lot of them are on the sidelines. They're a little bit scared right now. But we're the ones that are typically more, how would I say this? We typically make decisions based on emotion, and we typically make decisions based on what we see around us, what our friends are saying, what the news is saying or media. A lot of the big institutional investors, they could care less about that. They'd actually prefer that a lot of us stay out. And so you're seeing massive funds being spun up right now. So it's all over the place. There's people that are, I would say the investors that are here for the long term, that have been doing this a long time, I think they're fine. I think some of the newer investors are having a hard time. I think some of the newer operators are having a hard time. But capital there's not as much capital right now as there was 2 years ago. People were giving away money. It was crazy. Any thoughts about property insurance issues in Florida? Yeah, we're seeing it in California as well. There's insurance is getting expensive. We've got insurance companies who won't do business in California anymore. Is it a challenge or a problem? Potentially. Yes, it's a problem. I shouldn't say it that way. Yes, it's a problem. Is it a catastrophic problem? No, it'll get solved. I think it's going to be similar. If we're speaking California, I think it's going to be similar to what we saw just with earthquake insurance after the Northridge earthquake. You're probably going to see some type of state program. It's not going to be as good, never is. It's going to be expensive, but it'll get worked out. FTX really messed up some of the VCs. FTX really messed up a lot of things. It's interesting. What do you guys think about that? There's an element to crypto that I think people really like, which is the deregulation aspect of it. It's not regulated. When things aren't regulated, it's easier for stuff to happen like that. What do you guys think about that? Do you think there should be some regulation? Do you guys think no regulation, you lose money, or you invest in something like this, that's your fault? What do you guys think about that? Can you say happy birthday, Nick? My brother's... It's hard to tell if that's a joke or not. Fantastic answer. Thanks, man. You're welcome, legend. Thank you, brother. Would you recommend purchasing a double wide as a first home in Camarillo? I live in and save up and eventually sell after building it up in the future. Tim, you know what? Mobile homes, and that's not my wheelhouse. I actually, I've never invested into it. I haven't really put a lot of time or energy looking into the models or even the forecast of how they perform, et cetera. Let me make a note. I'll look into that one. I would treat it the same way though. I think when you're, when you're investing in a home or something you're going to live in, I really like the 10-year rule. And the other thing, I think it's important, Every time I've ever looked at my home that I live in as an investment, it's screwed me. It's been awful. And so like I really got to the point where I won't do it anymore. I will not look at my home as an investment. I look at it as my home. I think there's a lot of reasons to own a home, but from an investment standpoint, I don't think it is. It doesn't mean you can't make money, but I tend to look at it now as where I want to live, some control in a sense that my, rent in theory or my mortgage isn't going to be forced up on me, that I'm not going to get evicted or somebody wants to move in and kick me out. I have the freedom to do whatever I want to the house. And it's a forced savings account. I think the forced savings account is valuable. Now, if you're looking at it just from an investment standpoint, something I've always said is, if you're looking for investments, I would be focusing on appreciation and cash flow that you're not having to pay for. Somebody else is paying for you. Like investment properties is I just think is better when you compare that to the home you live in. So I've always liked the idea of putting money there first if your goal is financial freedom, or the house hack model. I think that's such a solid one. Duplex, triplex, quad, live in it for a year and then move out and you have a cash flowing asset prior to moving into a primary. I think that's such a good strategy. Do you need a hungry intern in San Diego that will be a sponge, but also get you on the board more? It's a good one. I need to get on the board more. My concern is time. That's the hard part. But Nolan is our current intern. His last day is tomorrow. Possibly we might need another one. If we're looking at where we need it, I'll tell you what, will you email Tawny, TAWNY at communecapital.com. Put it on her radar. I'll talk to the team and let's see if we've got something for you. Do you have to have a 2-year work experience to qualify for an FHA loan? I haven't gotten an FHA loan. I know from my experience, if you don't have 2 years of W-2 income, it's a lot harder to get a loan, just period. For whatever reason, they really, really like the consistent W-2 income. If you're 1099, it's harder. If you're like me, it's a mess. Getting a mortgage for me is hard. It's not easy. You would think that banks would understand depreciation. You'd think that they'd understand, not showing income even though you have income coming in. They don't like that. They hate it. So to answer your question, they're going to want to see 2 years W-2. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but they are going to want to see it. There's other loan options out there. I don't know specifically on FHA. I would just set up a call. Like go on the site, put your information in, schedule a call and ask them. And what I would say this specifically, because usually the people you talk to, like they want to get to a sale. So a lot of times the entry level or the person you're talking to immediately will tell you what you want to hear, and it's not always right. I would say, look, please save me some time here. If I'm not going to be able to qualify for this, like if it's a stretch, just tell me. I'm going to look for different loan options. If you guys do give loans out though, that aren't W-2 for 2 years, or maybe I only have it for a year, can I still qualify? Maybe there's going to be some parameter changes in the loan, but just ask that up front. Unrewarding grind. It's hard to scale. What do you think about professional service businesses? Benny Mac. I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at service businesses at all. What business are you in? It's hard to scale. Tell you the truth, a lot of businesses are hard to scale. I think scaling's it's fun but difficult. What service business are you in? What advice would you give yourself if you were 21 again, Seth? If I was 21, what advice would I give myself? Oh, that's a good one. Man, that's a really good one. I would say This is a hard one to tell a 21-year-old because I think you just get better at this as you get older. When I was 21, I was like really, really concerned with what or how. I was concerned with what everyone thought of me. Like, I thought about that all the time. Like, how did people think? Like, did they like how I skated? Did they like this trick? Like, when people would talk shit on me, I really, really struggled with that one. And I had a moment where it felt like I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, because what I was focusing on was getting other people to like me. That's destructive. It's really destructive. As you get older, you get a little bit more comfortable with who you are, and then you get to a point where you just don't give a shit anymore. I would love to tell myself at 21, don't care, do not put any energy into worrying about what people think of you at all. Be yourself. If people don't like you, too bad. And then when people actually do like you, they like the real you. I just don't know if I could have, I don't know. I'm not sure I could have done that back then, but that would have saved me a lot of energy. I would have made way more money that way. I would have had a more enjoyable life. It's hard to do when you're young. As you get older, and we know, our grandparents is they start getting older, they really don't give an F. Which maybe they go a little too far off the rein, but it's interesting, man. Our elders, they've been here longer than us. They've lived life longer than us. It's interesting to see how they progress, and I think they got to a point where they know what they want to spend their time and energy on in life, and they don't have time to waste. It's like, why am I going to bullshit with somebody? I think it's fascinating. So that would have been a big one for me, as just being myself at an early age. I would say from a business standpoint, the best advice I would have given myself at 21, I was really focused back then on saving. I put more energy towards saving money than I did making it, actually. And I probably would have switched it. I still would have tried to be very disciplined in the management of my money, but I think I would have told myself there's endless potential on how much I can make, but I'm very limited on how much I could spend. And I think that would have been pretty important for me. Now, being a pro skateboarder, it's interesting. You're living off borrowed time, and you're so scared about the end that I think it puts you in what feels like a defensive state. And a defensive state, you're putting your time towards saving, it feels like. Building a war chest, and I was investing, but I probably would have told myself, focus on ways to make money and find ways to make money out of skateboarding earlier. It took me a while to start making money out of skateboarding. 2012 is when I started that. I probably would have looked for ways to use what I had built in skateboarding to monetize it outside of skateboarding earlier. I think that would have probably been good advice for me at 21. If someone's just starting to learn about personal finance investing, where would you suggest they start? I would start with a handful of books. The books that were huge for me, Richest Man in Babylon was amazing. I still think Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a phenomenal book. It's like a gateway drug. Think and Grow Rich is really good. Money Master the Game, I actually really liked. Intelligent Investor, it's a little bit difficult of a book to read, but it's good. The Compound Effect is a great book. I would start reading those. And then from there, you can follow people on here that are kind of maybe in the personal finance space, but those books did a lot for me. And then, start doing it, right? I've always learned the best when I actually do it myself. If you haven't created a budget, create the budget. Start messing around with your budget. Start saving a certain percentage every month. Start investing and start learning, how to control your emotion and how to control that discipline. That's going to teach you everything you need to know. But I would start with those books. This may be too specific, but single guy, 32, can get approved for almost $500,000 looking at buying a one-bedroom condo, thinking in Point Loma, OB area. Won't be living there 10 years, but would rent it out or pull equity. Okay, so No, it's not too specific. I would say you just have to be mindful when your backup plan is to rent it out or pull equity. If you're going to pull equity, you're considering that the house or the condo appreciated, and then you don't have to live there 10 years. Like that would be a scenario where you don't. The reason why I say, try to get comfortable living there 10 years is in a downturn where you lose value in the home and you can't sell. The renting out, you need to run the numbers. So if you're going to buy it, basically make sure that you can actually rent it out to cover your mortgage, your insurance, all your expenses, plus a maintenance amount. And then when you run the numbers, you should run it off discounted rents. Like what happens if you have to discount the rents by 10%? Usually for us as a company, we actually go a step further and look at what the project looks like if we have to discount rents by 20%. Look and see if that still puts you in a position of being cash flow positive. If it does, then yeah, I think that's a good strategy. The challenge though to owning real estate in California, it's difficult to get it to cash flow. So that's just some of the things you want to be mindful of. The most powerful thing I learned in life is not to care what everyone else thinks. Tyler, me too. That was a big one for me. Is there a smart strategy for a young first-time homeowner to use the positive equity in their home in SoCal? Well, potentially, like you can look at taking a loan against your equity, looking at like a HELOC, and I don't know what the percentage is for that right now, but you could potentially pull equity out and then use that to go into another property. Just be mindful. You're adding leverage to your primary house. So you're treating your home like an investment. But if you're comfortable with the risk, that could be a good decision. It's just going to come down to the interest rate and if you can pull it. Why are you focusing your development efforts in San Diego? Humble Wholesome. We're focusing our energy in San Diego and in Ventura County. Ventura County is kind of the bigger one. We're focusing our energy on undersupplied markets. So markets that are significantly below the demand. In San Diego County, they're short by about 108,000 units. So 108,000 units need to be built in San Diego alone. Just for context, the state averages 104,000 units per year, at least they have over the last 10 years. So the state puts on 104,000 total units historically. San Diego County alone needs over 108. So we are focusing on those areas that are undersupplied and are difficult to build in. Ventura County is the same thing. Ventura County, we're 31,000 units short. In Ventura, where we have one of our projects and then two under contract, they approved like 400 units last year in 2022. So it's very difficult to build here. It takes a long time, and there's markets that are just so far below demand that we like the idea that we think demand's going to be here for our investment. I mean, a decade, easy one. I think there's going to be demand for this thing 80 years out. Like I'm not convinced we're going to be able to solve this problem in California. I'm really not. Like on the numbers, basically to give you context on the state is short 2 million units. We need about 3.5 million by 2025 if we're talking about keeping up with population growth. And then I told you the average. We average 104,000 per year over the last 10 years. If we don't change anything, we just keep developing the way we are, we're not putting 3.5 million units online till 2089, right? The goal is 2025. It's not going to happen until 2089. When you look at this moment too with interest rates, construction is slowed down. Like where we need to get, we're not getting there any faster because of this moment. So we like that. We like going into those markets and building where others are having a hard time building in general, and then more specifically this moment. I would say the add-on is in San Diego, you're seeing city councils start to change policy to add more density in smaller areas. And so, with our San Diego project, it was a duplex. we've already scraped it. We scraped the duplex, which was an Airbnb, and now we're building 32 units. So we're getting 32 units on top of what was a 2-unit duplex. That was because of a change in policy. We are now allowed to go 8 stories tall as opposed to 4. And so that dramatically changed the unit count. So to bring it all home, this is what I like. 1, we're putting supply in an area where it's needed. And 2, we're able to get more units, which means we have a deal potentially that could give us a higher return. And so that's why we're focusing on San Diego. We had another project that we were looking at that kind of looks like it's falling out, which is a bummer, but that's real estate. It happens all the time. If you have $50K in the bank, what would you invest in? Okay, I'm going to give you general, and then I'll tell you about me specifically. Generally, if you have $50,000 in the bank, what you're going to look at is, in my perspective, first, how do you invest in yourself with that? What is something that you can invest in that's either going to teach you a new skill or improve on a skill that you can then go and monetize, make more money off of? I would look for ways to do that first. After that amount, I would separate what you need to invest in based on short-term and long-term goals. If you have a short-term goal of buying a house or a condo in the next 5 years, put that amount that you need in a high-yield savings account. Don't invest it and just wait until you get to the point of being able to buy. For your long-term goals, I think it's smart to start with, if you have a 401k, you have an employer that'll match your 401k, you get 100% guaranteed return because they're giving you the match. You get to, reduce your taxable income with your contribution. I think that's good. Roth IRA, I really like. And then if you want to invest after that long-term, you're looking at post-tax dollars in the market, or if you're looking at bonds or real estate, et cetera. For me, the last 5 years, no, longer than that, 7, geez. Wait, hang on, let me map this out. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, it's been the last 7 years. The last 7 years I've been investing in commune. That is where my focus is right now, is investing in my business, which is also investing in me. So I would say, the whole entire $50,000 is going into investing in myself right now, investing in our business. And we just went through that exercise. We had a pretty big gain last year. I want to say our company, I don't know, netted a little over $1 million or so. We didn't decide to do a distribution. We put that money back into the business. So that's what I'm doing with my money right now. I'm investing in myself. So I would start with that. I guess the advice isn't that different. You should look into purchasing commercial property in Delaware, where I'm from. It's booking like crazy. Yeah, to tell you the truth, our philosophy on real estate right now, we're investing, at least on the multifamily side, in expensive markets, basically that have a very high barrier to entry, that are difficult for our competition to get into, that are undersupplied. Like, we're going really hard on California. So, and the reason why I'm not going to look in other states right now on the multifamily side is we are turning good deals down right now. We can't raise money fast enough. It's crazy what's going on right now. Like, everybody was waiting for the market. Oh my gosh, we're seeing phenomenal deals right now that we weren't seeing last year, a lot of them. So we're putting all of our energy towards what's in front of us. I'm not sure we have the bandwidth to go outside of it for a while. So that might be a great market, though. Tim Hoover joined. There's my guy. Would you like to invest in Charlotte market? With your wisdom, we can help a lot of people while growing at the same time. Okay, I really like the Carolinas in general. I think they're awesome markets. For what I'm doing, the answer I just gave is going to be the answer I give to this one. We've got too many deals in front of us to even spend time on other markets. So I'm a no on it right now, not because it's not a good market, because I've got my hands full with our current deal flow. All right, let me try to, I'm kind of, oh no, here we go. I caught up. Okay, good. I'm telling you, Milton, Delaware, no state sales tax either. You want to hear something crazy? I had this thought the other day. If you guys were on my live, you guys heard me say this. Everybody talks about like Texas being pro-development, or what's another market where it's easy to get projects online? Like Delaware, you could like, and everybody says that California is pro-tenant. I think it's reverse. I think California, in a lot of ways, is anti-tenant. I think they're very, very much so pro-development because they make it so difficult for any developer to build that the ones who do and the ones who own real estate, state just makes them wealthy. And what happens to the tenant? They end up having to pay an astronomical amount of money because there's no supply. So even though like there's awesome things that other states are doing that are driving dollars there, it's interesting. It's like, it's weird to even say it. A lot of the bad policy that I think drives people out of investing in California simultaneously makes those who own real estate here very wealthy. It's interesting. And it's just a supply issue. Are you still running as local politician? I'm a city council member. Yeah, I ran last year. I got elected. I got sworn in January, and I have a 4-year term. So I will be on city council. This will be my first year. So I have 3 to follow this year. I'm in a break right now. We're in a little recess. So I start back up next month. September, I think 11th is our first council meeting. Your advice for people out of USA. That one's a little bit more difficult. Only because, I don't know a lot of their markets I don't participate in. So I'm not going to have a lot of good advice for you, unfortunately. Like your tax code, and I just don't know very well. All right, I'm going to switch over, see if I missed. Big fan, Mike. Congrats on the new chapter. Thank you, legend. What's a good way to start investing? This is from Solar Dars. A good way to start investing, I would say you have to educate yourself. I would start with reading books, a handful of good ones. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think, is like the best one to start. Money Master the Game is a good one. Set for Life is a good real estate book. And then you just get going on it. If you don't totally know what to do, you can get a robo-advisor. They're incredibly cheap. If you want to get it like a traditional advisor, start reaching out to advisors, get somebody to help you before you know how to do it, or start educating yourself and start doing it yourself. All right. What type of business do you have in California? Jerry, my business is a private equity real estate firm. So what we do, we run different real estate funds. We go out and raise money from investors. Those dollars come in, and then we deploy it in real estate investments. We do a lot of development. We focus on multifamily and storage. And then as those properties, basically we build them out, and then, we're in the business of basically value add. We want to add value to whatever we're doing. So we're typically looking for an asset that's distressed. It's not bringing in any revenue. We scrape it. We build a new project, which, in theory is adding value. And then, what the goal is when we add the new value, we refinance the loan. We like being put in a situation where we can pull cash out of that. And then that money goes to our investors. And then when we perform, we get to participate in that as well as a business. And then as properties cash flow, that's money that goes to our investors. And depending on the fund, if it's above the pref, then we get to participate as well. And that's basically how our business makes money. So, our storage isn't only in California. Our storage, we only have one asset in California. Everything else is out of state. But our storage is a completely different model than multifamily. You are the best. Have you considered doing training? I know it takes time, but I definitely will buy whatever comes from you, sir. David, you know what? I've been considering it more lately. That's one that I didn't consider for a long time until people started asking, like a lot. A lot of people are asking for mentorship programs, some type of like training. And so it's not a no. Maybe next year. I've got to get through. We've got a pretty big capital raise in front of us. So we had a team meeting today. I think we're looking at, I could be off my number, but I know we're looking at, a goal of raising 80 million next year. I think our goal this year is raising 40 or something like that. So I've got to get through this year's capital raise. And then next year, I think we could probably look at potentially doing that. Keep following me. I'll be the first to give everybody a notification that something like that's available. Bingo on the constricted supply, volume versus premium discussion. With proper capital, the higher barrier to entry arenas are going to do very well. Pados, that's right. That's exactly it. Look, money goes where, how do they say it? Money goes where it flows, or where money's less restricted, money goes, something like that. It is true. It totally is. Like when states are like wide open for business, you start seeing a lot of money go into them. But what happens, and this is the normal cycle, and it's interesting because we didn't see it in California for this reason. The normal cycle is one like Idaho, where a ton of people move to Idaho, right? Their net migration is through the roof, right? Their population growth is crazy. And prices start rising because the demand has now, gone significantly higher than the supply. So it's going to take time to get the supply up to demand. Well, in Idaho, it's not that hard to build. And so what happened is you had everybody, all these dollars going towards Ohio to make investments. You had all these builders start building. Everybody's brother is now a GC, right? And what typically happens is builders build, right? And then they end up building beyond where the demand is. And then you start seeing vacancy increase. And what happens when vacancy increases? You got to bring prices down. And that's when you start seeing a price correction happen. It's just overdevelopment. It's a normal cycle. The problem is it's not happening in California because we never built to even come close to the demand. I mean, we are so far behind schedule. And that's a big reason why the Fed can, more than double rates and real estate didn't move that much. It's because there's still not enough product. So that model for us is done pretty well. How do you guys handle issues with those properties out of state? How often do you guys go to put eyes on the properties? Really good question. So for almost all of our properties, we have a third-party management company. On our storage side, it's typically Life Storage or CubeSmart. And so what that does for us, it allows us to be the investor or the owner, not the property manager. So we have calls, our controller or asset managers have calls with those property managers maybe once a week. We get our financial reporting from them every month. And then every so often, we'll send somebody out to do basically a visual. And that model works really well for us. Some people get hung up on fees. Like this is one that you're hearing a lot on the single family or the Airbnb, the short-term rentals, is these management companies are charging like 30%, right? It's crazy. On our assets, we're typically charging, our property managers are charging us anywhere from, 4 to 5%. So 30% is crazy. And a lot of people now are opting into self-management as opposed to paying the property manager. Now, I don't think management companies are going to be able to charge that on the short-term rental side for much longer. I think there's just a window where they're able to get away with it. But you just have to ask yourself, are you here to be a landlord or are you here to be a real estate investor? If your job is to be a real estate investor, let somebody else manage it. Let them do what they're good at doing so that you can focus on doing more. You can focus on the next project. You can focus on building the portfolio. Let the people manage the properties. When we're in the middle of development, we go out there more. What we do a lot of times is hire an owner's rep, and they're basically in charge of going out there and kind of reporting back to us, kind of boots on the ground. We had to do that with St. Archer as well. Like we had distributors that would put our beer in, Ralph's and Trader Joe's, etc. We'd still have somebody from our team going out there and making sure, like Our beer was front and center. It was in good locations, etc. So I think that is important to do. NJ Matt, Mikey Days is coming back as a podcast. It is. David, I'm down for being your intern in any form. I'm a home designer. Focus on the exteriors. You are on my radar for sure. I'll be patiently waiting to be in your team. David, where are you? Where are you from? Where do you live? Are you SD? Mikey, do a kickflip. You know what? I'll do a kickflip tomorrow. Expect a kickflip on my story or on my Instagram. That's coming tomorrow. Jonah, moving to San Diego this fall. Thoughts on renting a house for the next few years before buying, or worth buying initially? I think if you want to buy somewhere and you're okay being there for the next 10 years, buy right away. But you do have an argument. You're moving into a new city. Maybe you want to, check it out, make sure you like it before you commit to a long-term stay. So I'm not mad at renting until you basically figure out that you like it, or maybe you don't, you end up leaving. But my rule of thumb on buying, if I'm okay being there for a decade, I could really care less on timing. I'll buy it whenever. Can draw out the org charts again. Owner, asset manager, property manager, then who oversees the construction. Okay, June. So there's different ways to do this. And look, our company is, we're a little bit larger than the mom and pop. We're managing, on our storage side, we're managing almost 9,000 units, 8,500 units or so. We're managing like $250 million of real estate. So there's a lot of projects that we're managing. And because of that, we have a larger team. I think we have 20 people on our team. And so if you're just getting started, you don't need all of this. You can do it with a smaller crew and then grow the crew as you grow the assets. But how I think the goal should be, you want to be the owner, right? You either want to be owning them yourselves, or if you're going to do some type of partnership structure, you're going to be the general partner. Maybe you bring on limited partners as investors, right? But you want to sit at the top. And then if you're building or developing, right, you're going to hire either a general contractor, or the builder can be a part of the entity you create. You can bring them into the general partner so that you have a developing partner and yourself. If not, you're going to hire a crew. And then once it's built, or I would say in the build process, if you're small and you're building something local, you might have to be the one that's over there checking it out, right? Maybe you're there every other week checking it out. If it's out of state, you might have to hire somebody to check it out, or you're going to start flying around, right? As you start growing a business, though, you start putting people in places so that, one, you've got the experts doing what they should be doing, and you can focus your time on what your highest calling is. For our company, we have, as far as like the partners of the C-suite, president, CFO, COO, we have a CCO, Chief Compliance Officer, and a CIO, Chief Investment Officer. And then from there, we have basically our controller, asset manager, we have our accountants. So we have a whole team, and their job is basically making sure everything we own runs smoothly. They're the admin, right? Then we have a sales team. So we have a team that focuses on new investors. And then we have a marketing team. On the marketing team, it's, on the brand side, making sure we're putting out valuable content, making sure we're representing the brand and the purpose of the brand correctly. And then we have marketing on the sales side, marketing that's meant to bring in or grab attention for people who are looking to invest in real estate passively. And then we have basically the management of investors. Us currently, we have over 500 investors. So we have a team that basically has to manage the investor side. And that's, when you start looking at building a business like that, that's one it's not just the investors. This is any normal business. It's client experience, or in our case, it's investor experience. And it takes work. And a lot of times you neglect that, right? That's usually the thing that you focus on last. But your investors are like your greatest source of growth. So be mindful of it. For us, we do quarterly reports. We do a third-party audited financial every year. And we have somebody who's investor relations who's doing more communication, or if an investor calls and has a question. So we have a little bit bigger of a team, but you don't have to have that yet. You can definitely get away with doing it as somewhat of a skeleton crew. Sir Charlie, you need a podcast mic. This is golden video audio that we want to intake, but sometimes I'm working at this time and gotta miss this, unfortunately. I appreciate you, legend. The podcast is coming. We're running it as Mikey Days. The theme song is gonna be the same theme song. I guess the question for you guys on the podcast, and please give me your opinion on this one, because I'm relying on you guys as far as if this is even something you want. Should I be interviewing people, or should I be doing podcasts alone? And if it's both, what should be the flow of it? And as those answers start coming in, because I really want to know, I'll get to some of these. I don't understand anything you're talking about. Can you talk about front feebles a bit and stop talking about money bullshit? This is from YouTube. Yeah, it's how would you say this? I'm not a pro skater anymore. I know there's a lot of people that followed me because I was a pro skateboarder. I'm not anymore. So this is what I'm doing now. I know that's maybe what I'm doing now doesn't work for you. If you want me to go into skateboarding real quick, front feebles, that was one of my favorite tricks. I love that trick. I think it's the coolest feeling trick. For anyone who's a skater that's in here, I'll give you a little trick tip. This is what worked for me. I had to focus on doing 50-50s, not front feebles. Whenever I try front feeble, I would sit on the inside of the bar. I would never do it right. So how I learned it, I would ollie like I was doing a 50-50 and then miss my front truck. And then I learned how to basically miss it and put all of the pressure on my back toe, like sitting in the pocket. And once I learned that, I could front feeble forever, 50, 60 feet. That was like the hack. All right, on the podcast, let me see what you guys think. What do you think about investing in LA? Wait. What do you think about investing in land here in LA? Okay, I'm going to answer that question in a sec. I just want to see what you guys think about the podcast. Thank you for that detailed answer, Junior. Very welcome. That all makes sense. Did anybody hit me on the podcast? Guys, I need help on the podcast. Am I interviewing people or am I doing it myself? Let me know what you guys think. Okay, what do you think about investing in land here in LA? If you haven't invested in land yet in LA, I would recommend bringing somebody on who has. Investing in land is tough if the intention is to build, right? Getting through entitlements, your permits, it's not easy. It takes a long time. It can be very expensive. And, there's cases where like you don't get to the point of being able to entitle it. Like you have money at risk that can all go away. So I think it's really smart to maybe, if it's your first one, do it with somebody. Would investing in VA, where the largest evangelical college is, be a good strategy? Homes. You know what? In markets like that, I think like you have a major employer, or you have like the draw that's bringing everybody in. The next thing you need to figure out is their demand for the product, right? I would call around, or you can go on LoopNet and find out, what big apartments or student housing there are in the areas, and start looking at the vacancy. And look at what it's been over the last 5 years. Look at population growth. Look at rent increase. And if the vacancy's up, then I don't know if the market may be saturated. I don't know. You want to see population growth. I think when you start seeing population decline, that's concerning. But that could be a good market. I suggest interview people that are relevant to your audience. I appreciate that. We love you, Mikey. Everything you want to talk about, bro, I appreciate you, legend. You should create your own content and have guests with skills, specialties that you lack. That's a good one. But complement your content to expand the viewer's experience. Ooh, I love that. That's awesome one. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be a lot of operators. That's what it's going to be. Interview pros, man. I appreciate interview people 100%. Okay. I suggest interview a lot of interview people. I like that. Homes are still around 200,000. Bring people in on your future podcasts. You are too wise not to do that. I appreciate you, legend. Make the podcast however you want. I think both are good if and when the subject is broken down to detail and a 10-year-old can understand it. I love that. Keep it solo at first as you expand to interview other people. Both. I love your commentary, but eventually you will probably want to branch out with guests. I appreciate you guys are legends. I seriously appreciate all you. And thank you for the front feeble tips because I'm actually learning those. Heck yeah. All right. I appreciate that. Daddy Grape Fern, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I think it should be both your own podcast and interview guests. All right. I'd say make a plan of 5 to 10 foundational topics. Then you can direct people to those if you want to give them more context on things that come up during convos with other people. Here's the next one. I'm going to give you, this is the next question. You guys I'm giving you all credit. When we launch this podcast, this is going to be our podcast. I'm giving everybody credit here for this. Do I do it only on finance or investing? Or do I do it on the things I'm interested in, which is going to be investing in business? That'll be a major component of it. But I guess the question is, if I do the podcast more through the commune lens, it's going to be more business and investing. If I do it as Mikey Days, like it's me, it's going to be on investing. It's going to be on business. But you know what? I'll probably do some on marriage. I'll probably do some on politics. I'll probably do some with skaters. It'll probably be more about my life, like the things that I'm into in my life. Which one would you guys rather see? Would you guys rather see other topics involved that I'm interested in? Or would you rather it be only business focused? How can you be a great manager? Is that a question? How do you be a great manager? Yes, diversity, bro. Good night, Jake Daniels. Good night, my man. Have a good one. You killed it on the Maddox DVS demo Milwaukee. Truly legend. Yeah, you going way back. I appreciate you. Heck yeah. I wanted to ask, how do you manage people? How do you manage people that are... how do you manage people? Okay, hang on. Let me find your name again. My bad, legend. Jerry, will you ask me that question again? How do I manage people at cutoff? And then I'll answer that one. Have each day on a different topic. Okay, I appreciate that. It has to be Mikey Days. It's the brand that launched you and can evolve into 40-year-old Mikey Days. I appreciate that. All right, I feel it. Everything, all of the above, however you feel on that. I love that. Everything you are interested in keeps it more entertaining. Okay, that's what it is. Maybe a day of the week can be a little of everything and the rest all business. Let's go. Too late to start an Airbnb short-term rental. Not too late, just harder, but not too late. Shoot, I'm trying to see the question on management. I wanted to get that one covered. Because that way you will first rank high in just one niche, then be more easily searchable, and due to your good delivery and your personality, people will come back for more of what you are into. I appreciate that. What do you know about the economics of messy? Not much, actually. I don't know much on that. That's good advice. I appreciate that. Okay, the question about managing people, I'm kind of just going to guess on what you meant by managing people well. Yeah, you know what? I had a lunch with somebody a few weeks ago who's starting to invest in soccer teams. It sounds lucrative how he was pitching it, but I have not done a deep dive and I know nothing about it. So I'm taking it. I don't know, unfortunately. I can't wait for your podcast. I'm very patient, David. You're such a legend. Definitely you and your interest, your enthusiasm will come through, and you never know how a story might help somebody or connect to them. I appreciate you, legend. Heck yeah. I mean, I've got the equipment now. We might as well run this, right? We're set up for it. Okay, managing people. So my skill set is not managing people. That's kind of first and foremost. I know that about myself. I'm not good at managing people. And so what I've always had to do is bring somebody in from the beginning that is going to be more management based. It's going to be a COO or my operator. And then, I can be more involved on culture, pushing people, not in a bad way, but pushing people to become better. And I know it's easy for me to be encouraging. I'm really good at just encouraging people and building them up, but I'm not good at just the management side. So, with our business, Michael, who's our COO, like he's on the management, right? And then it allows me to float around and pick somebody. Nolan, right? Nolan's our intern. He interned with us for the last 2 months. And the last 2 weeks, we have him setting on phone calls, right? So a lead comes in to invest with us. Nolan calls them. Nolan has kind of a script that, he goes through, and then he schedules a call with either Bruce or right now it's Michael. And I was bigging him up. That part I'm really good at. Nolan, look, man, you're going to crush this one. You've got this. Like just be yourself. I'm going to sit in with you. Like, don't worry about not knowing the answer to a question. It's always good to just say, you know what? I'm going to let Michael answer that. Let's schedule the call with you. And just like I drove him up, and then every time I see him, it's like, how many did you close? I know you closed. If he tells me he didn't close anybody, I look at him and go, you're closing the next one. We got this, right? That is more me in my element. But what I am not good at is like looking at Nolan and going, how many people did you call? How many people did you close? What's the conversion rate? Not my skill set. So knowing that, I structure my business accordingly. But I do think it's really important. Like, I think it's important for your team. I think it's important for you to do things that you're asking others to do. Like, I always want my team to feel like I'm in the trenches with them. I think that's important. So, I'm in the office every single day. Like, I don't think it's good if I'm supposed to be the leader of the business and I'm popping into the office once every 3 weeks and it's like, hey, you guys are killing it later. I don't think that's good. How old were you when you got your first piece of real estate, and what was it? My very first piece of real estate, I was 22. It was my primary residence, and I wish I wouldn't have bought it. I tell everybody this. I wish I would have bought a duplex or a triplex and lived in one of the units. I wish. Run it. Love the vision you got for the empire you're building. Good stuff. I appreciate that, Nelson. Let's see. I would love to help you on the podcast in any way I can, Mikey. I do it for the experience and the networking. Turkman, you want to jump in on this? Hit me up. This is what I need you to do. Email Tawny. Email Tawny, Tawny, Tawny at communecapital.com. Tell her that you were on Mikey's live and you want to help with the podcast. Let's do this. I'll let you jump in. You get connected to my world. You want to make some relationships and learn some stuff? Jump on in. I would love that. If you wouldn't go to war for them, why would they for you? It's exactly right. It's 100% right. If I have 30K, what should I invest in? 30K, I would say first and foremost, look for ways to invest in yourself. What type of skill can you learn or improve upon that will allow you to make more money that you can monetize forever? That's first and foremost. Second, separate your goals between short and long-term goals. What do you need money for in the next 5 years? For most people, that's buying a house. Short-term goals, that money's not to be invested. Put it in a high-yield savings account. And don't worry about inflation. Just let it sit there. The purpose is the short-term goal. Long-term goals, you're typically looking at retirement accounts, 401k. If you have an employer match, It's 100% guaranteed return. You get a little bit of tax help off your contribution. Roth IRA, love that one. If you want to go anything other than that, it's post-tax dollars. Open up an account with a brokerage, start looking at, most people, stocks and bonds, real estate, etc. Hey, Mike, if you need a painter in LA County, let me know. Luigi, I will for sure. I'll put it up on my stories if we ever need one. Mikey, I'm buying a condo. All of your advice helped me a lot. MoFire, congratulations. That's so cool. Let's go, my man. If you ever think of expanding into Spanish subtitles or dubbing your content, don't hesitate to reach out. I love that. I would love to do that. I would absolutely love that. Any recommendations for fixing property in South Los Angeles with financial aid? M. Brown, keep your eye on my story. I'm gonna do a little deep dive and try to put together a list of some additional resources for you. What advice would you give to somebody who is beginning to start their real estate portfolio and investing? Soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can right now. I would read the book Set for Life. I think that's an awesome one. Start listening to podcasts. Bigger Pockets is a phenomenal platform to learn how to invest in real estate, and then you go for it. You go for it, and you know that you're gonna learn on your first ones. Might not make money, but it's gonna be an investment that will eventually make you a lot of money. All right, I'll answer this last one, and then I'm gonna take off. When looking at buying residential, what percentage return would be your minimum? Well, for us, okay, that's a good question. I think this would be maybe a good way to answer this. The projects that we're looking at as a company, we want to see an IRR north of 20% so that we can get a net return to our investor somewhere around 15, 16 net IRR to investor. That's typically where we want to land. Maybe give or take. Call it 13 to 16, right? To give ourselves some room. If it's anything less than that, considering it's the same risk profile, I don't understand why you would do it. Like if you're going to be investing in residential, you need to be making more than we're able to make for you not having to do any of the work. So if you're doing big value add kind of development deals, I think the threshold needs to be north of that. If you're buying stabilized product, right, very low risk, it's challenging right now because cap rates are still low, and we don't buy stabilized product. If we did, I'd want to see, I don't know, 7. It's hard to buy a 7 cap in an area I'd want. It's a tough one. You know what? I don't know if I'm going to have a good answer for you, honestly. It's an interesting time, right? You've got your savings account, your high yield savings earning almost 5%. When that's the case, it's like, you could look at buying real estate as like a bond alternative at a 5 cap, 5.5 cap, but your debt in a lot of cases, the interest is higher than that. So for me right now, what I want to see a higher return. I want to see something in the teens. That doesn't have to be cash flow, though. I think that's something to be mindful of. When I'm talking about net IRR to investor, we're considering cash flow, we're considering appreciation or distribution, and we're considering time. So that's usually where I want to see it. Appreciate the knowledge. I appreciate you, my man. All right, everybody, have a phenomenal rest of the night. Tomorrow's Thursday. I could probably go live tomorrow if you guys want to go live. Appreciate you. This podcast is coming. I can't wait to launch it. All right, everybody, have a good one.